I'm a girl with the Bowl Gators.
Okay.
I was just checking to see if you were listening.
From Destrehan, Louisiana. Hold on a second.
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
Momentum, excitement, energy. They say all this stuff and you know what they mean, but it doesn't describe what you mean. It's just sort of out there.
You got barbecue back there and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
I was just worried about, listening to, all your guys' rap poison.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. Here are your hosts, Sergio and Tyler.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today, Tyler, we are talking all about the end of the 2021 college football season. It may not have ended how you and I wanted it to end, but it did have an ending, Tyler.
Man, this season sucked, y'all. Okay.
Weird.
Every college football season is a great season. I did have a lot of fun as a college football fan this season. As a Florida fan, I think that we can go out and say that this was not the best season for us, for many reasons. But continue.
Yes, I can't agree with that statement that it was not the best season for the Florida Gators specifically, but I think there was a lot of fun that happened this season overall. Yeah. We're not going to do the entire season recap this week. We're going to save that episode for a little bit later in the offseason. But what we are going to talk about is the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. We're going to talk about bowl season. And if we're just, we're going to be honest here. I'm going to be 100% honest. Our NFL teams suck. And I know this is a college football podcast, but Tyler and I are in desperate need of a therapy session. So
you more than I, because as much as my team is worse, my team's been worse and made bad decisions consistently for the last year. So
yeah,
I don't have much new to talk about. You do though.
I do have some new things to talk about, but I do know that the structure of this show is college football. So at a certain point, I will let you know, hey, the college football content has ended. If you want to go ahead and turn the podcast off, that's fine. But Tyler and I need a little bit of time at the end. And I just checked Tyler real quick. We do make the rules. So we're going to do that. So that's what we're going to do. It's crazy how that works. Let's begin, Tyler, with the national championship game. We are recording on Wednesday, January 12th. The national title game was on Monday, January 10th. And we did not record yesterday for multiple reasons, but one of them being we were still too emotionally stricken by the result of this game. Georgia has won their first national championship since 1980. They beat Alabama by a score of 33-18. Tyler, this not only is Georgia's first national title since 1980, but it is, I believe, their second ever national title. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, I believe it is. In eras of college football that matter, at least.
Right, exactly.
Even though I don't 1980 is not the modern era of college football anymore, that's close enough that it matters. That was a Herschel Walker team. That matters. But we ain't talking about games in the 50s or 60s. I could be wrong about that, but
yeah, this is kind of the third wave of college football, if I can classify that myself, where we had the early stuff, then we probably had the post-war stuff, and then probably 1990s and beyond is kind of modern college football per se. So, Tyler, let's talk about the game. There were some Alabama injuries. Stetson Bennett played like a 2-star recruit who was a walk-on who had to transfer to a junior college. And above all of that, they ended up having a crazy fourth quarter. I put in the show notes that the fourth quarter said, "Hold my beer." We exchanged some jokes during the fourth quarter, which quickly went silent because it quickly realized, oh no, this is actually happening. No. Tyler, what'd you think of the game as a whole? What'd you think of the performances of both teams?
The performance that won this game in all, you have to give a shout out to the Georgia defense, which might seem a little weird, but how many times was Alabama in a situation in this game where they had to settle for a field goal when they were in a goal to go situation? And they were there was a time Bryce Young threw 3 straight passes in the end zones that got into the hands of Alabama players that were then broken up by Georgia players. And your thought process is that eventually one of those has to crack. And like it kind of did. They did score a touchdown, but this game was won by Georgia's defense. And it makes it can only respect that in the sense that it's been the best singular unit in the country all year. And also the big X factor in this game, got to be honest about it, Jamison Williams injury. Yeah. Like now, I was saying this to somebody. Here's the thing. Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy, and now, no, now he had to only throw to 4 stars and not 5 stars. So that shouldn't matter. It's like, it's not like, because I'm like, it's not like Alabama lost. Oh, Alabama lost their best receiver. How are they going to cope? They have plenty of good receivers. It's that Alabama lost maybe the best receiver in the country. They're game breaking.
And they did that a few weeks after losing maybe the second best receiver in the country in John Michie. Yeah. They lost 2,000-yard receivers between the month of December and in the national title game. Like I agree with you. I think that's a bit too much to overcome in a way.
There's at least 1 or 2 touchdowns in the SEC championship that are just Jamison Williams. Mm-hmm. Like drives and touchdowns and you take that out, and that also is Bryce Young's like probably best game of the season. And this was one of his not best games of the season. Like he just they were struggling to throw the ball, and at the end, he throws a pick, and I don't really care about that because I joked about it on Twitter that that's a Heisman interception to you, but but in reality, it's that it's all the stuff before that mattered. Is the fact that they just could not convert field goals into touchdowns.
Yeah, it was very much a red zone issue. And it was very much a red zone issue where they would drive down the field. And I was watching the game with some friends of mine, and all of them were saying, just run the football. And in my head, I was thinking, yeah, but you don't want to run against that like Georgia front 7. But then I realized they were averaging something like 4.5 yards per carry. So listen, I understand that throwing the ball was the game plan. I understand that, at the time you have, Williams and all these other receivers and tight ends and such. But if it's working, they kind of ran the football down up until they got to the goal, to the red zone, and then they would start throwing the worst play in football, which is the goal line fade.
Stupid.
Just run the football when you got Brian Robinson there running the football really well. You know what I mean? Like there were some questionable moments where I was like, oh, maybe that should have been different. Maybe that was something that I wouldn't have done. But then again, when you're arguably the best receiver in the country goes down with a nasty injury, which we can now confirm is a torn ACL, by the way, that was confirmed today. When he goes down like that, especially the way it looked, like it's tough to bounce back from that, not just on the field of play, but mentally. You know what I mean? Like the team and rallying around all of that. So it's tough, but I agree with you. Listen, the game was won by Georgia's defense to be able to get those stops in the red zone. Turning 6 points into 3 points, and maybe a win for the analytics department, for the analytics people too, because maybe Saban should have gone for it on 4th down a couple times deep in the red zone, especially the way that Stetson Bennett was playing in the first half.
And that's the thing is that part of it is that it's that they didn't run on those early downs in the red zone, because then if you throw in 1st and 2nd, it doesn't work. Okay, well then now you've gained no yards and it's 3rd goal and you have to throw. Getting caught in that trap. And additionally, this is a game that could have so easily flipped the other way, in my opinion. The final score of this game is not indicative of how the game played out, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Because Bama was winning the first half, but didn't step on the throat like they're used to. Usually, like the disparity of play between the Georgia offense and the Alabama offense was insane in the first half. And yet, Bama didn't really do anything with that lead. They were leading, but they could have been leading by so much more. And that's really the story. I mean, like, credit to Nick Saban in this fact that I keep getting reminded, this is one of his not his best teams.
Right.
Like, and he still got to the national championship and looked like the surefire team that was going to win it. And I mean, he's still the GOAT. But this season he had 2 former assistants beat him for the first time ever.
After never, ever losing to a former assistant before that.
So maybe this team just isn't really that great, and he was doing a great job with them because he's the GOAT.
And it's crazy to think that an Alabama team that made the national championship game and was leading at halftime, and probably up until the beginning of the 4th quarter, we were like, oh, I think Bama still wins this football game. that's considered a bad Bama team.
Yeah,
like
that's the standard
he's
created.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course,
and have to do it. Big props to Kirby Smart, and it's kind of true. You don't recruit that well and have that good of a defense year in, year out, with at least one of those times popping it, like getting one. I mean, it took him 5 tries to beat Nick Saban with all those great teams, and this is, I mean, it's funny. This is arguably one of Kirby Smart's worst of his several teams. Like, probably the best defense that he's had, but I would say one of his worst offenses. I don't know. I'm not talking about last year.
But then again, I think that's right. I think that offense defense issue, I think this was actually one of Kirby's better teams in terms of pure talent. I mean, when you have like 2 number 1 recruiting classes and you're in the top 5 and the rest of them, like it's one of the best teams talent wise. But the issue arises yet again with Kirby Smart in Georgia, the offense. They said that they were going to revolutionize the offense. They really didn't revolutionize the offense. They have a 5-star quarterback sitting on the bench in JT Daniels, someone that we saw do really well at USC. Granted, we don't know the injury stuff. We don't know the personal stuff, blah, blah, blah. But he chose to run out Stetson Bennett. Like, I think that's his Achilles heel. And I think that Georgia won this national title in spite of having to play Stetson Bennett and in spite of a like borderline anemic type of offense rather than off of the strength of their defense. You know what I mean? Their defense was so good that they were able to overcome that anemic type offense. But I don't think that this is this like referendum on Kirby Smart going, see, it worked. No, I don't think so. I think those problems are still there. You know, in the sense of
revitalizing it. To me, it's just like recruiting is so important. You can do all these things, have so many things not working in your favor on your team, but because you've recruited so well, it doesn't matter. Like Georgia is on the same level of Alabama as talent, and like if not maybe even greater. That's a tough argument to make, but like they're in the 1 or 2 or 3 range as talents in this country, and it's just when you do that, it means you're going to be playing in that ballpark, and eventually you're going to win one of those games. And so it definitely is a referendum on the approach of Kirby Smart yielding results in regards to the recruitment, like acquiring talent. But yeah, it's like, I say this with a lot of things in life, is that touchdowns that are juggled and bounced off of 3 people's hands and fall into the right person's hand count for 6 points, and touchdowns that were drawn up on the chalkboard, practiced 300 times and executed perfectly, they are also worth 6 points. So it doesn't, not every touchdown should be taught the way that you score it, but they all count the same. Like this, maybe building a team this way with that quarterback situation is maybe not what I would suggest you tell other coaches to do. But hey, he got a national championship out of it.
Right. Listen, I think Kirby ended up with a result.
Like
Kirby ended up with a result, singular. I don't know if this is results, plural. And that leads me to the next question, where what happens in the future, right? What's next for both of these teams? Because for Georgia, and rightfully so, they're going to have a year-long party, as they should, because they had one since 1980, all that stuff. And you know what? To us, they'll probably listen to our analysis and go, I don't care. I want a natty. Which if I was in their shoes, I'd be doing the same exact thing.
Nah, man, they got a natty and we don't. Like that is right. Disregard everything I say. Like,
right? Yeah, exactly. But here's my question. With the defense leaving, with the majority of that defense going to the NFL draft, because it is an elite defense there, we know that Kirby recruits well and all that stuff, but there is still the question of quarterback, and you can only go up against a down Alabama so many times. What's next for Kirby, and are these Georgia fans going to be angsty for more? And are they expecting them are they expecting to look back at this game in 5 years and go, that was the moment that the power shifted from Bama to Georgia? Or is this something that is, they won it, that's great, fantastic, but there's still the signs of this isn't something that can be happening. They're not going to be winning this every year.
It's like when LSU had the Joe Burrow year, and coach was like, we're going to beat him in recruiting. We're going to beat him every year. This is the start of something. And it wasn't. Look, let's be real, people. The only time that power is going to shift from Bama to anyone else is when Nick Saban retires. Like,
agreed.
Let's we all know it. Let's not act like it's gonna be anything different. Now it's very possible. It's one of those things that the thing is Georgia's always been this good. They just haven't won this game. You know, like 4 years ago, Jake Fromm's freshman year, they were in this game. They could have won it. We could be if they won that game. The Tua second 26 throw. If Tua doesn't make that throw, if they win that game, I mean, we're not having this conversation. Like,
agreed.
But the thing is that it took them 5 tries to get there, but they did eventually. So I don't know, because it's more so that the one thing that Georgia couldn't do, they've been able to do now. So they're just in a different sub tier that they were in before. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, the reality is the power is never going to, in my mind, shift from Bama to anywhere else until Nick Saban retires. Now, this is what I love about college football is that everybody complains that it's always the same teams winning it every year. And Nick Saban, despite as great as he is, does not win it every year. And we'll see. I mean, the reality, again, Kirby Smart did this while, in my opinion, not playing maybe the best quarterback that he has. Although we don't know. Stetson Bennett, I give him a lot of crap, but he was fine.
Whoa, hold on. He was bad in the first half.
Okay, he's bad in the first half.
And then he was decent in the second half.
He is an average college quarterback.
Let's not act like the touchdown that swung the game wasn't a free play that he just chucked up there and his 5-star wide receiver went up and got it. Like, there wasn't much, there wasn't much to do on that play. I think maybe if I had the arm, I wouldn't want to say I could do it, but like,
don't be like
any
that.
other, no, but like any other, I think D1 quarterback across different levels could have easily done that. There was nothing special
add
about
anything to this offense.
Exactly.
I don't think he doesn't always take anything away from it. Sometimes he would, but like, and it kind of is a show because in the first Alabama game, I've heard it said that like Stetson Bennett was not the reason they were down in that game, but it was the reason that they couldn't come back.
Exactly.
Georgia wasn't ever really that far away in this game. That is, again, part of the defense. The defense did not let Alabama push them around. That is part of that Alabama's fault, 100%. But we'll see. I mean, like Kirby Smart did this with a average at best D1 college quarterback. If he actually were able to upgrade, maybe they're a regular here. They already kind of are a regular in this conversation. Right. They're good, and they finally won one. So we'll see. I mean, credit to them. Like I feel like listeners are going to be hearing this and being like, "Wow, they're not very happy about it." Well, as a Florida fan, we're not happy about it. Like, I'm sick.
But there is credit to be given. They won a national title. The defense was lights out, and look, who are we to complain? Who are we to discredit a national championship team? You know what I mean?
And I have to be honest again. The thing that's weird about it is that like they won a national championship in arguably one of the most sustainable ways that you can do that, which is by out recruiting everyone in the country. Like, yeah. And even with not the ideal quarterback situation, not the ideal offensive situation, they beat Alabama and they won a national championship. So, I mean, like
it goes back to what Kirby Smart said, right? After the Florida game, recruiting is the most important aspect of college football. And
that's the truth.
And that's the truth, because you can out in college football, in the NFL, the talent level is so close team by team for the most part that you really do need scheme and stuff to separate yourself. In college football, you can use scheme to separate yourself, but if you want to win at the top level, you just need better players. You really just need. That's what you need. And I feel like that's what, the coaching changes at Florida, the coaching changes at Miami. I feel like that's what that was inspired by. They both went with guys that are recruiting first, I should say, and their specialty, quote unquote, is in recruiting, because they see up in, Kirby's been the one that's been the closest to get Saban in that sense. Dabo has gotten Saban in that sense. And what have they done? LSU's gotten Saban in that sense. What have they done? They just stacked fantastic players and then went out there and let those guys do their thing.
Yeah.
So
but it
proves it.
Do you think Alabama in that last national championship game, do you think they prefer if they had better play calls or if they just had Jamison Williams on the field?
No, definitely just having Jamison Williams.
Just having Jamison Williams with the same plays that they called probably wins them the game. Yep. And that is more of a testament to how close and how big of a player he is. Not saying that, again, not to say that Georgia didn't deserve it. They absolutely did. But, Jamison Williams is the best wide receiver in the country. And he is more important than, we could have called the right play calls here and there. I'm like, if you just have Jamison Williams, you probably call the same plays and you score more touchdowns.
Right. Exactly. Recruiting, man. Recruiting. Oh, ABCs. Always be recruiting.
Always be recruiting.
All right, so we talked about Georgia a little bit. What is next for Bama? Because this is clearly, I don't want to say it was a down year. Excuse me. I don't want to say it was a down year for Bama, but it definitely wasn't the best
you
Bama
lost
team.
National championship. How terrible.
Did you see the tweet? I saw a tweet. I don't know who tweeted it, and I'm so sorry to that person, but I saw a tweet that someone put out there that was like, as I was leaving the stadium, I was walking past Alabama fans, and one says to the other, "Oh, where's the title game next year?" And the other responds, "Oh, Los Angeles." And they say, "Oh, that'll be a better trip than Indianapolis." Like, Bama fans already know. Like, they're already planning ahead for the next natty. They're already doing that. So it's not the worst world to be living in, where you lose a natty and you have the and like, it's not even like a pipe dream for them. It is a legitimately appropriate conversation to have of when's the next national title will like being in that city.
It's a likelihood.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they'll probably be better next year because Bryce Young will have another year of development, and this team will be better. And they weren't a very senior heavy team, from my understanding.
No, I think that's one of the reasons why I think Saban was kind of really patient with this team throughout the season, because he did have a lot of young guys on the team, and he realized the younger, these are younger guys. They need to be, cared for a little bit more rather than the stereotypical Saban, chewing people out thing. I'm sure he did his fair share of that, but not as much publicly as we've seen in the past. He was very quick to praise his players. I mean, you saw that wonderful moment he had with Will Anderson and Bryce Young after in the press conference where, he publicly said, these guys, they put us in a position to get here. I'm very proud of them and all that stuff. We didn't see that as much with other teams, I guess because they're more mature teams and maybe this team was so young. So they'll be back. They'll be fine. I guess that was just a customary journalistic practices question where I asked the question about Georgia, and we should probably say, what's next for Alabama? Even though we kind of already know what's next for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, we know. It's unfortunately just not a fun talking point, but we all know. It's like I said with guys, the power's never going to shift until Nick Saban retires. You know why? Because it's the boring answer, but it is the answer.
It's the truth is what it is. Oh man. Anything else you want to say about the national title game before we move forward, Tyler?
I'm sick. No, good game.
I will be the mature one on the podcast and put away my Florida fandom and say congratulations to Georgia for winning a national championship. I cannot wait for another 41 years to go by for you to celebrate the next one. That was my little dig.
Nice backhanded compliment.
Come on, Tyler. All right, Tyler, let's talk about bowl season as a whole. It was a fun one this year. It was an interesting one. We had cancellations, unfortunately, for those teams. We had exciting games. We had some talking points as well from some of the big personalities in college football, most notably from Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard on College Game Day, and also Danny Cannell of CBS Sports. So Kirk and Desmond, there was a moment on January 1st, first day of the year, Tyler, just right off of the bat. Love to see it. Where they were talking about player opt-outs and such. And the quote that sticks out the most was Kirk Herbstreit saying, "I just don't think that this generation of football player loves football." And then Desmond agreed with him, and then kind of, they had a big conversation and such. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts, Tyler? Is where I'll go with that.
I do. What a short-sighted, stupid, reductive general thing to say. This entire generation of football players that go out there and put their body in the line every day, man, they just don't love football. I mean, you're talking about an entire generation of people. Even if your argument had any real shred of truth, it's incredibly general. But yeah, I'm sure there are players that don't. And I'm sure there are players that do. And I'm sure that, it's a different generation. They express that differently. And also, I mean, maybe Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard, who, make millions off of announcing this sport, don't say this. Like,
I think my favorite part about it, Tyler, was later on in there's like a big 10-minute clip on YouTube that kind of gives you about a minute and a half beforehand and then the rest of the conversation, just so you have some context, right? There's a point where Kirk is talking about he holds up his phone and he's like, cell phones and stuff or whatever. And I get what he's trying to say, where there's much more distraction in this century. Yeah. We're different from when they were growing up, where they kind of only focused on football. I get the idea. But then he goes ahead and brings up video games. And I'm like, Kirk, if I fire up my NCAA 14 right now, you know whose voice is calling the game? It's you, Kirk. It's you.
Aren't you the number one person who wanted the video game to come back?
Literally, I think the biggest issue here is the fact that the discussion was centered around opt-outs, right? And these players, and the assumption and the correlation that was made was these players are opting out because they don't love football as much before, which A, is just patently false. B, it's not a football decision, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
The players
they
that are
love
opting
football
out
so much they want to get paid for it.
Yeah, and they want to be able to play it for another 15 to 20 years. The issue is that the players that are opting out, it's not your fourth string lineman that's like, nah, I don't want to play anymore, I'm done. It's the top of the top potential first, second, third round draft picks that are risking tons of money just by the slip in their draft stock. I mean, Jamison Williams, right? Jamison Williams, a potential top 10 draft pick. He just tore his ACL. Hopefully that doesn't affect his draft stock. If he drops from it will. And even if he drops from pick 10 to pick 22, that is a massive drop in guaranteed money for him. So I completely understand players that want to skip games which by the way, ESPN, maybe if you didn't run playoff ads starting in July and are subliminally telling us that the only games that matter are the playoff games, then people would have an interest in these other bowl games and maybe they won't opt out. ESPN as a company has been telling us that the only college football games that matter are the games that have an effect on the playoff and the playoff games themselves. So yeah, maybe players don't want to play in the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or the Camellia Tax Act Bowl because you've been telling them the whole season it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter.
So then to turn around on the same network that, by the way, ESPN owns most of the bowl games, on the same network that owns those bowl games, to say, oh my God, I can't believe they're not playing, when you're the company that has been promoting this thing and been telling us it's the only thing that matters. This is the pot calling the kettle black. This is the biggest sense of irony in the world. The fact that this company
You're criticizing a problem that you've created.
Literally, it is the equivalent of the hot dog. We're really trying to figure out who did this. You did it. You did it.
You did it.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I had a little rant there.
As you should. I just think it's incredibly short-sighted and thing to say that players don't love football. I mean, it's just it just makes me mad that somebody could what if the audacity to even say that? I don't know.
So those are our opinions. Just wanted to get that off our chest. And I think one of the reasons why there was one section where Kirk and Desmond were talking about how, when we were playing, which was in the, I think they were 89 to 93. They both played at Michigan, Ohio State at the same time, those 4 years. We would have loved to, a bowl game was a reward. A bowl game was being able to grade, and that it still is. But you got to look back where originally there were 4 bowl games, right? Yeah. Then they moved them up to 12. Then around their time, I think I looked it up, there's 21, 22 bowl games. There's 48 bowl games now, which leads me, Tyler, to Danny Cannell, who one day he's sitting on his couch and he tweets out, I think there's too many bowl games. And the internet exploded. And so I want to ask you, Tyler, do you think that there are, two
What's
questions.
Your
the first
opinion
one
on this?
Well, the first one for you, I want to ask you first. Are there too many bowl games?
I don't think so, personally.
Okay, I think there are too many bowl games, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's tough for me because, okay, from the perspective of the players and the teams, there can never be too many bowl games because everybody should get to go to a bowl. By the way, before you start saying, "Oh, we just doing participation trophies," that's all that bowl games have ever been. Bowl games literally are participation trophies. Like, that's what they've always been.
Tyler, wait till we tell the people that bowl games are just, economic boom things to bring in money to cities. Wait till they find that out. Wait till they find out that they're using the college football players who are unpaid to make a whole lot of money.
Crazy. So I'm always like, I'm always good for more bowl games. And also, for me personally, I like the unique matchups that bowl season gives us in a very, I just think it's cool. But I can definitely see the argument if there's too many bowl games, considering that the market gets really saturated. Now, you just have to get to 6-6 to get into a bowl game. And in some cases, you don't even really have to do that. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, there's been years where they're like, okay, we'll do 5 and 7 teams, but the tiebreaker is your academic rankings. Yeah. And it's like, okay, dude, we're stretching out here.
And that's fair. So I mean, the reality is bowls keep going up and down and disappearing and adding again. So I'm a little all over the place with how I feel about it in regards to I feel like, I mean, maybe there's a touch too many, but one or two.
I think there's too many. Right. But I think there's too many, but I'm with you. I don't see that as a bad thing. I think, yes, we would probably get better. Right. I think, yes, we would probably get more matchups. Or better matchups, I should say, if we took it from 48 to 40, or maybe we kept the 40, or maybe we just, had a hierarchy of bowls and it was, okay, instead of 6-6, you got to be 7-5 now. And now the pool is taken from 7 and 5 teams. I think that would be better in terms of competitiveness on the field for these games. But again, bowl games have always been participation trophies. So I don't care that a 6-6
it's a strange thing because they're
gets to go to the Bahamas. You know what I mean? That's fun and awesome.
It's great for them. It's a strange thing that it's their exhibition games played at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's a unique thing.
It's a very unique thing for college football to have, which is why I do think with playoff expansion would add to the 12 that they're talking about, would add a little bit more interest in the end of the season because that kind of, how do I say this? I mean, it kind of makes it more interesting, the playoff, but of course the playoff, we've said this multiple times. If you are viewing college football as a sport only through the lens of the playoff, you are doing yourself a disservice.
You're really not viewing the sport properly. It's an iceberg, right? If you see the tip of an iceberg, that's the playoff. But there's so much more underneath that supports the top there. College football is the same way. There's so much underneath the surface that supports that tip of the iceberg, which is the playoff in this analogy, that you're missing out on the whole thing. It's a very short-sighted view of the sport. And honestly, if you're not a big fan of the sport and you only want to drop it on the playoff, that's fine. You enjoy college football however you want. I don't think I'm talking to the targeted audience of this podcast if you think that way, but I think you're very much a eat the whole hog type of person like Tyler and I are. Yeah. But it's one of those things where there's so much more to college football than just the playoff, and these weird bowl game matchups are just another part of it,
Absolutely.
So with that being said, Tyler, let's talk about some positives. I'm done talking about media members saying weird stuff. Tyler, What was your favorite bowl game of this bowl season?
I think I have to go stock, and I, I'm upset that I feel that way. My favorite bowl game, I think it has to be the Rose Bowl.
It was good, man.
It is a really good Rose Bowl.
And I want to say Rose Bowl. Shout out to the Rose Bowl. I know we give them a lot of slack for being very much they're hard to work with.
5 p.m.
Has to be New Year's Day, regardless, whatever. But they've had some bangers over the years. It's worked.
Something in the grass over here. Something in the grass over here in Pasadena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. We get it. You live in LA. Okay.
It's funny. I wasn't even in California when this game was being played. But no,
I know.
What's funny is that I didn't expect this to be a good game, and it was great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so there were a lot of really competitive ones. I really liked this game though.
Yeah.
What was yours?
I agree. Well, first let's put a cap on the Rose Bowl there. CJ Stroud had 537 yards and 6 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns went to
Jackson Smith and Njigba.
Njigba. Okay, I didn't know how to say it. Jackson Smith and Njigba. 15 receptions, 347, 3 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, last thing I promise, Kirk, if we didn't have opt-outs by Chris Olave in that game, guess what we wouldn't have had? We wouldn't have had Jackson Smith and Njigba's 15 reception, 347 yard, 3 touchdown performance because he wouldn't have played. So whatever. I did like the Rose Bowl. The Rose Bowl was great. I loved honorable mention. I loved the Citrus Bowl. Kentucky won 20-17. That was one of those, if you're a college football junkie and you know Kentucky, and this was Kentucky's the most Big Ten SEC team that we have. Mm-hmm. And they played Iowa, and it was just perfect. It was literally perfect in that sense. I loved that. But I think my game of the bowl season has to be the Trans Perfect, because over here we list the sponsors, Tyler. We're going to give them their dues. The Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. It was Tennessee and Purdue. Everything about this game was perfect, beginning with when Tennessee arrived in Nashville like 3 days before the game, and their social department tweeted out like, Nashville's team has arrived. And it was like, okay, like like they like listed like 3 or 4 teams that have won more in Nashville than Tennessee, and it's like Vanderbilt has beat you more times in Nashville than you have beat that. Like, it was one of those weird stats of like, be quiet. Mm-hmm. And then the game just proceeded to be a 48 to 45, Purdue winning in overtime. The end of the game was just wild back and forth. It was Tennessee scored 21 points in the first quarter, none in the second quarter. It was just a back and forth affair. Tons of fun. And it was in Nissan Stadium where the Titans play. And it was very much split. Like, it was like 70-30 Tennessee fans, but those 30% Purdue fans were up and at it. And it was just a fantastic game. It was really a fun football game to watch. That was a fun one.
That was a good one.
Tyler, what about your favorite moment of the bowl season? Doesn't have to be a specific game per se, but maybe a moment. It could have been on Twitter. It could have been on the field.
Mine definitely was. It sucks because this game also might qualify for the next category, but it was a moment in this game. It was when Clemson won the Cheez-It Bowl, and their one defensive line player says, "I woke up feeling the cheesiest coach" to Twitter. That was, sometimes, very rarely, sometimes corporate sponsorships are good.
Yes, yeah, we're not. I believe Tyler and I to be very liberal men of the people, but that was
hilarious.
That was hysterical. And not only did he say it, it's the camera angle. It was a little bit lower, so it was kind of pointing forward. They're on the sideline celebrating, and he sounded like the commercial.
It was crazy.
I was like, did he do the voice? Like, is this the actor that did the voice of the cheese wheel in the commercial? It was fantastic. I also loved from that game the opening kickoff coin toss with the royal Cheez-It. I didn't know Cheez-It had like a line of royalty.
I'm convinced these companies make up like mascots for these bowl games that they
I agree, but I also think and we will mention the Duke's Mayo Bowl in a moment. I promise you. We'll get to that. But I think we need to give a shout out to the social media teams of the Cheez-It Bowl and the Duke's Mayo Bowl, because they are, in my opinion, the Duke's Mayo Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl should be in the New Year's Six rotation. They're that important to me. They are that important of bowl games to me. And I never thought I would say that, because the Duke's Mayo Bowl is formerly known as the Belk Bowl. And the Belk Bowl was some royalty in terms of college football bowl games. So for Duke's Mayo to come in and be like, we understand the legacy of what has happened at this game in Charlotte every single year. We will live up to it, I promise. And they've knocked it out of the park. So that was a fun one. Good choice for your bowl moment. My bowl moment, I'm going to be a little selfish. Yeah, I know we lost the bowl game. All right. 40 minutes into this podcast and we haven't mentioned Florida UCF, but it was a fun evening up in Tampa. I was there for a couple days tailgating. I ran into a friend of the pod, Ryan Urquhart. I was at his tailgate for a little bit. We were crushing down some beverages and having conversations. I was in a sea of UCF fans, and Tyler sent you the video. Tyler, listeners, oh, I was deep. I was deep in enemy territory.
You're a better man than me.
I had one ally, and it was my friend Matt's older sister, who she was in the Florida band. She was one of the Marchettes, I believe is the name.
Cool.
She was like in the Florida band when she was there, so she really cared. It was fun. My only ally there, my own girlfriend wasn't even an ally. She was, I was dating the enemy. I am dating the enemy, so it was a fun time though. It was a great bowl moment. But on TV, I will go back to just fun bowl moments as a whole. I really enjoyed early on in bowl season. The roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl had App State and Western Kentucky. And I would like to take this moment, Tyler. You know what, Tyler? I'm going to give this moment to you. You deserve to say this moment, Tyler. What happened in this game that is my bowl moment, my moment of the bowl season, Tyler? What happened in this game?
Look, I don't know what you want me to say, but what I'm going to say is if no one else got me, I know Bailey Zapp got me.
Absolutely. The man broke the single season touchdown record, and I believe the single season.
Who?
LSU? Sorry, LSU. He broke the single season touchdown record, and it was funny because like they were very clearly trying to do it, like very obviously.
So obviously, you're trying to break the record.
There was a play in the first quarter where they were on the 2-yard line. It was 4th and goal. They went for it, and instead of running the ball, they literally threw a wide receiver screen and had the receiver walk in. It was like anything to get the technical credit for a touchdown pass. It was fantastic. That's
amazing.
Yeah. So that was my moment of the bowl season. Tyler, next up, I believe we have the same one. It is the Sickos game of the bowl season. I want to know what yours is. What say you, my friend?
I had a really funny. There's many candidates for this. I had one that I think I just thought of that I just think is funny, so that's what I'm going to say. But then I think we'll probably have other ones. There's obviously Clemson, Iowa State is a big candidate for this. But my thing is South Carolina State 31, Jackson State 10 is for me a Sickos game, just because like the week before that happened, it was when Deion Sanders like stole Travis Hunter from FSU just to lose the Celebration Bowl. Which was even like by 21 points, which was even funnier. It was just funnier to me that like
I was gonna say, I don't know who's more mad about that result, Jackson State fans or Florida State fans. I'm not sure who's madder.
That's why I think it's great. I'm just like there could be no funnier outcome after that happens than him losing by a lot of points the next game that they play.
Absolutely.
But what's yours?
Okay, well then I'm gonna go with a different one then, since we're doing a little alternate here. The alternate one for me is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl between Army and Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
This ended up being Army 24, Missouri 22. I saw the fourth quarter of this game. This was the night before the UCF game. I was in Tampa. Alexa and I went to dinner. We got back early, and I watched the fourth quarter of this in our hotel room. This game was insane. This game is in a service academy. Army ends up winning the game because they end up throwing a touch. Army wins the game because they threw a touchdown pass. And it was crazy because it was late. They threw a touchdown pass. Missouri then ends up going back, scoring again. There's a little bit of time left, and Army ends up driving down to the field and kicking the game-winning field goal. And it was one of those moments where it was like, oh my God, I can't believe Army just like won this football game because they threw the ball down the field and then ended up getting a game-winning field goal. And on the drive before, they threw a touchdown pass. Now, granted, I did say beforehand that this is the most that Army has thrown since like 2003 or whatever. So like they are a quote unquote passing Army team. But still, it's like it's a triple option service academy. Like it's incredible. It's insane.
It doesn't stop being strange.
Exactly. It doesn't stop being strange. So for me, that was a little Sickos game that I enjoyed. Tyler, can we both agree that the Sickos game of the bowl season is the Duke's Mayo Bowl, like just because of the Duke's Mayo Bowl?
Obviously, and honestly, it doesn't even really matter what happened in the game. It's just everything about the game, the build up, social media, the Mayo dumping.
I think the Mayo dumping is first, Tyler.
Yeah,
the Mayo dumping is that is the primary reason as to why.
There's nothing to do
but
with
it was a good game too.
Played.
No, but I do want to give the actual game a little credit. DeCarrion Joyner is a like South Carolina local kid. He was a senior. He was recruited as a quarterback and then moved over to wide receiver and played wide receiver, I think, for his entire career. And then he ends up, Zeb Nolan goes down, and so he has to step in and throw the ball. He goes 9 for 9, 160 yards and a touchdown. And he was crying afterwards, and he's just talking about how much he loves South Carolina, and it was just great to see. I think
these players don't love football.
Yeah, it's too bad these players don't love football. Exactly. It was just nice to see, and it's very indicative of the culture. That oh my God, his name is escaping me. Shane Beamer, thank you, Jesus. That Shane Beamer is kind of created there and gone through, because this is a team we expected to win 3 games. They end up going. Oh, whoops! I have a box score that is making noise. They end up going 7-6 and winning a bowl game against North Carolina. That's incredible for what a fantastic first season. So good for them. Good for that recruiting. Good for all that. So and of course, it was just fantastic to see him get a bunch of watered down mayo dropped on him. Which, by the way, did you see how the cooler kind of hit the back of his neck? I was a bit concerned about the the head injuries that were going on there.
Yeah, not something I do again, but
no, absolutely
he's
not.
a legend for that one.
He is a legend. Thank you, Duke's Mayo Bowl, for giving us
Mac Brown,
so much joy.
Wish that media had more defense.
Well, here's the issue, Tyler, was that the media was playing cover 2, and Sam Howell against cover 2 is just not ideal. So can't do it. Tyler, final little bowl category here. The underrated bowl game of the season. What's a game that kind of didn't get as much attention, but ended up kind of being really good? What is an underrated bowl game of the season for you?
That's tough. I think an underrated one would probably be the Independence Bowl. I just lost it. Yeah, just the Independence Bowl where UAB beat BYU by 3 points.
They did. That was a shocker for me.
That was a shocker to me, and so that's one that I'm I've heard nobody talk about since it happened. But that's a big one. That's kind of an underrated one. It's a good game. What else, real quick?
Well, I was going to say, I have a list of a few games that I think are notable in terms of results. So I want to say shout out to Louisiana, R&L Carriers Bowl, 36-21 over Marshall. Loses their coach, go out there. They still take care of business. Levi Lewis announces that he's going to transfer after the game. Looks like Louisiana is kind of getting raided, and some of it's by us, but
most of it's by us.
I was going to say, yeah, both coaching staffs and players. So yeah, that was an interesting one. We already mentioned the Bailey Zappi game in the Boca Raton Bowl. Where was it? I already mentioned Army, Missouri. I thought that was a great game. Where are you?
Kansas State beating up on LSU was kind of fun.
Yeah, but we knew that was going to happen. LSU walked in with 45 scholarship players.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's be real here. I think underrated a little bit, even though it is a New Year's Six bowl game. It just didn't get the attention it deserved. And the attention it did get was because the top 2 players in the game opted out. Pittsburgh and Michigan State winning 31-21 in the Peach Bowl. That was a good game. It was a really good game.
That was a good game.
That game came down to the final possession. Michigan State scores 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win the game. Good on them, man. Great. Mel Tucker hype train. You and I are conducting that train. So we're on there, but it was really good. That was a good game. I then also thought, shout out to Rutgers, by the way, who 5-7 and finessed their way into the Gator Bowl and received a $3.5 million payout. Because they were able to. Hey, listen, it just goes to show that, if you study and do well in school, then maybe if your team goes 5-7, you can get a call to replace someone in a COVID game. You can win a few $1 million.
The only thing that's funnier than that all happening is that if Rutgers had somehow won that game, it would have been hilarious.
That would have been an incredible moment. And then also Central Michigan leaves the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl because Boise State was having COVID issues and could not play. End up going and replacing Miami in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, and they end up beating Washington State 24-21. So they get the increased payout because the payout for the Arizona Bowl was like $750,000.
Oh, crazy! That's so crazy. Barstool being
crazy, right? Yeah. And then the payout for the Sun Bowl, because it's like CBS's only bowl game that they have, like, or only big bowl game they have. The payout was like another $3.5 million. So not only do they get the extra money, they end up winning the game as well. Like, shout out to them. I can't believe it, man. Jay McElwain, I knew he had it in him, man. Stop. Also, another great moment was the canceling of the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. That's karma.
Chef's kiss.
Another great game on New Year's Day. Oklahoma State beating Notre Dame 37-35 in the Fiesta Bowl.
That was wild.
You will not convince me that the Fiesta Bowl doesn't have the best bowl gifts, because it's straight up a PS5. You just straight up get a PlayStation
what the heck?
5.
Like, because like a PS5, the thing that like no one can find out right now, they're just giving them out.
Yeah. Well, I looked up like the bowl, like the best bowl gifts, and I think the Sun Bowl gave people like, I think the limit's $500 per player. So the Sun Bowl gave players a $490 American Express gift card. So they just straight up paid them in cash.
I love that.
And then the other $10 is like a Sun Bowl backpack or a Sun Bowl like souvenir, whatever.
You
like
don't
a small
want these players to get these things, people who hate bowl games. And for that,
I love the
shame
fact
on you.
I'm with you. Shame. I love the fact that the Sun Bowl was just straight up like, yeah, we know you guys want cash. They're like the cool uncle at Christmas. No, they're the cool uncle at Christmas. They're like, I mean, I know you just want cash. It's like, yeah, please and thank you.
Pretty much.
So, and on top of that, Oklahoma State played in a great game. Notre Dame had the lead. Oklahoma State comes back. It was a fun game. Like Spencer Sanders out here, like doing really well. It was like, what's going on?
Marcus Freeman.
Freeman.
I think he's going to be good as Notre Dame's new head coach.
I think he'll be fine.
I think Notre Dame really lucked out of this situation, like of losing Brian Kelly. I think it really went well for them.
I agree. I think it's going to go well for them. I do want to say in the Sugar Bowl, Baylor beats Ole Miss 21-7, but an unfortunate injury for Matt Corral. I don't want to politicize it and be all like, this is the reason players opt out. I think that's a personal decision. I just hope that he gets better, and it's supposed to be just a high ankle sprain, which is going to take a bit to recover, but it's not like,
but that's not
horrible for his, exactly. It's not horrible for his draft stock. It's not a surgery or any of that. So he should be fine. And then Tyler, I think the last thing that we need to say is, Sam Pittman, thank you very much. We appreciate you. You did the Lord's work, winning the Outback Bowl 24-10 and ensuring that the entire nation is given their free bloomin' onion on January 2nd per tradition, because we can't be out here eating coconut shrimp, right, Tyler?
No, not when bloomin' onions are on the line.
Not when bloomin' onions are on the table. So mine was delicious.
More than the national championship or anything. People are like, oh, how is the SEC going to hold water for their team? SEC fans are just going to they're going to abandon their team and just root for their conference. That is never true except for the Outback Bowl.
It's the only time when I'm like, all right, I wear an SEC
Arkansas,
t-shirt.
You better do it for us. I'm an Arkansas fan today.
I want to go
Conference
2
pride.
and whatever. I want the SEC to go 2 and whatever in bowl games. I want it to be Florida winning their game. Hopefully one day it's a semifinal on the way to a natty, and whoever's playing in the Outback Bowl to win the Outback Bowl.
Yeah.
That might be the only moment in my life I cheer for Georgia if they're.
I
in the
won't
Outback
cheer for
Bowl.
them, but I'll be okay with them winning.
It'll be like blood money, but also I'll spend the blood money.
I'll spend the blood money. What are you talking about? Get it off my hands.
Get it off my hands. Any more notes on bowl season, Tyler,
No.
or any other game that you want to kind of give a special shout out to?
Unfortunate, so a lot of the games were canceled. But
yeah,
it's all right.
Unfortunately, I do want to say shout out to Memphis for finessing a free vacation to Hawaii.
Amazing,
because
work. Amazing work, Memphis.
The Hawaii Bowl was canceled when they were already out there, so they just straight up had like a 7-day vacation to Hawaii. Shout out to them. Didn't have to play.
Yeah.
Love it. A work trip where I don't have to work. That's a vacation. Oh man. All right, Tyler. With the end of bowl season, also comes the end of our Capital One Bowl Mania Pick'em pool. Tyler, I have the results here. Tyler, would you like to tell me what your name is? What is your bowl name?
My name in our Capital One Bowl Mania competition is Teach Me How to Daggy. Which is based off the West Virginia quarterback Jared Daggy.
Which they lost their bowl game to Minnesota.
So I'm feeling real bad about it. I picked them
feeling
too.
real bad about it, huh?
Yeah.
It's okay. My name was Gasparilla Bowl champion, and I think I am not the Gasparilla Bowl champion. So, but the Gasparilla Bowl champion came in 5th with a record of 20-18, while Teach Me How to Dogue came out 19-19, which means, Tyler, that amongst the two of us, I have the double, as they would say in soccer. I won both the domestic tournament and the league. I won the league, which was the regular season college football pick'ems, and I also won the domestic tournament, which is our bowl season pick'em. So, Tyler, I would like for you to keep an eye out on Twitter over the next few days for a certain video of me changing my Twitter bio to include a certain set of information that I won't say on the air. I'll have you look at it later on. How do you feel about this, Tyler? How you feeling today, my friend? I'll take your silence as exuberance and happiness is what I'll take it as. Yeah, the Sideline Judgment Committee was going to fine you if you didn't show up to this natty reaction podcast.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So that's the good news.
Collusion. If some of those bowls hadn't been canceled, I think fortunes might have been different. But no, collusion. It's a conspiracy.
Your collusion. There's actually evidence to your collusion theory because we did say this year that we were going to the winner of the pool was going to be able to come onto an episode of the podcast during the off season, and we would talk about literally whatever they wanted. Doesn't even have to be college football related. Whatever they wanted. Well, Tyler, it looks like we have a tie for the first place. And I think this is the worst idea I've ever had in my life.
This was your idea.
This was my idea. Idea.
Entertaining it all in my head. They're like, yeah, let's give people that we know free airtime on our show.
Yeah, and I think it's only fair that because the winner's tied that we have to do 2 episodes now.
Fair.
So I would like to say a congratulations to the only variable is time, which is the Bowl Pick'em bracket from my stepdad, noted FAU fan, Raul. So my stepfather Raul will be coming on. Congratulations, Dad. Congratulations. We will be reaching out. The Sideline Judgment PR team will be reaching out to you to schedule your off-season episode and what the content will be of that episode, subject to approval. And then would you imagine if I did like a little terms and conditions apply? No. We're going to be honest. It's going to be whatever you want. And then also tied for first is real Gaspy Bowl champs, which it's called the Gasparilla Bowl, and it's a champion, not a champs. Please. That one is done by my girlfriend, Alexa Altino, who for the second year in a row has come out with at least a share of the Bowl Mania championship. I don't know how she does this. I have a theory that she just listens to all the stuff that I say throughout the season, absorbs it like a sponge. And then because you and I make irrational decisions based on stuff that probably doesn't matter in terms of picking college football games. It never does. She actually listens to the stuff that I say during the season, and she ends up picking them correctly. So she also will have a episode where she will be on.
Great.
I do want to warn you.
The 2 people that listen to this podcast that disagree with me the most. Great.
I do want to say, Tyler,
amazing.
So you prepare yourself. I asked her last week when I checked the standings. I was like, hey, you have a legitimate chance to win this. What do you want to talk about? Just have an idea. And she texted me, legitimately serious, the birth charts of UCF players. So I don't know if that's what we're going to actually talk about. So
I don't know what I was prepared for, but it wasn't that.
It wasn't that. And look, like, I don't know if that's what we'll actually talk about on her episode.
It's up to her.
But that's what we're dealing with. That's up to her. I'm sure it'll be something UCF intertwined. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have them both on their own individual episodes at some point during the off season. Oh boy, this is the worst idea I've ever had. And you know what, Tyler? It's such a bad idea. We're probably going to do it next year as well. Like, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
no, probably are.
Because we make the rules, and this is a rule that we decided. So thank you to everyone for participating. We really appreciate it. We had a record number of entries this year. We really appreciate it. Oh, the scores that they had, by the way, were 24-14. They hit 94% of the bowl games. I hit 57.5, and Tyler hit 46.5. So those were the numbers there. Not your year, buddy.
In
not
every
your year
sense
as
of the
a whole.
word. This is just not
in every sense of the word.
Year. Like,
no. All right, so that's it for the college football coverage.
In my professional life, it's been great. Like,
yeah. In college football, it's just not been your
college football. Terrible. Like,
listen, that is the end of the college football section of the podcast. If you want to spare your ears of Tyler and I complaining for another 10 minutes about our respective NFL teams, feel free to turn the podcast off now. I do want to say that our recording schedule will be a little more infrequent now that we're in the off season. We're thinking maybe 1 or 2 episodes a month. With obviously, if there's some major breaking news, we'll hop on and do some, like a 30-minute reaction pod or something the day after the stuff happens. Yeah, we will be coming out. We're going to have some fun episodes, not time sensitive episodes. So if you want to kind of load them up throughout the season or throughout the off season, and then, hey, I want to get back into college football about a month before it starts, you can run through the episodes that we produce. So we're going to have some kind of rankings. We're going to have some what ifs. It'll be a fun off season, Tyler. It's kind of what we live for over here.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be fun. Now that the college football stuff is done, let's turn the page to Sundays. Do you want to go first?
I'm going to go first because I feel like you got things to say.
I got things to say.
And then I'll probably have more things to say later. So
absolutely.
The Jaguars got the number 1 pick again, y'all. I'm sure you guys have followed. I have been not shy about talking about how terrible the season has gone. This team that won 3 times the amount of games as last year's Jaguars team would absolutely get smoked by last year's Jaguars team.
They were somehow worse. They were somehow worse.
And Trevor's been fine. And Trevor, while being not above criticism and, is still a rookie. And
I'm going to pause you. Respectively, because I know you won't say this. I will say this I feel like I'm the Key and Peele Obama anger translator right now.
Okay.
I am your anger translator. Trevor Lawrence is fine. There's no problem with Trevor Lawrence. He's not playing extremely poorly. He's not a bust. He's a really good quarterback who has quite literally nothing to work with. If you show up to work, if your job is to lay concrete on a floor and you show up and your boss has given you soap and water, you're not going to do the job well. Okay? This is Trevor Lawrence. He is making lemonade out of old apples. Okay? Give the man some slack. He is a rookie. He will get better because, yes, there is an adjustment period between college and the NFL. And we did say he was one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks of all time. But the man has no help there. Just search on Twitter, Trevor Lawrence wide receiver drops. That's it. That's all you need to do. It's all you need to see. I'm done, Tyler. Your anger translator is putting his foot down. Please continue. I just wanted to say that in your defense and in defense of the entire city of Jacksonville.
It's very telling when your rookie quarterback is the bar none, without a doubt, best offensive player that you have, that your roster is not constructed in a great way
at all.
So, but coaches out. We're interviewing a bunch of coaches. I swear it better not be Bill O'Brien. I don't want to do that.
So I was very much and I texted you, both you and Michael, friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, this. I told you guys, hey, the issue with Bill O'Brien was GM, not coach. And then I saw the national title game and was like, yeah, no, I think I get it. I think I get why they don't want to.
I would rather try something new than try or try like Jim Caldwell or Doug Peterson than try Bill O'Brien. The big thing going on with the Jaguars is that they have still not fired Trent Baalke, the general manager, who is even worse than our previous general manager, and has, I think now a streak of 5 head coaches that worked under him that got fired. And people won't even take interviews for the Jaguars job. One of 32 of only its type of jobs in the world. Like,
Yeah.
professional head football coach in the NFL. People won't take interviews because they don't want to work with Trent Baalke. And I know for a fact that Tony Khan, Shad Khan's son, doesn't like Trent Baalke either and wants him fired.
Yes, I know that because he has made some reference. As people know, I am an avid professional wrestler watcher. I love AEW. I think it's a great product. Full disclosure, I work for one of Tony Khan's companies. True Media is owned by Tony Khan. So I want to put that out there. Full disclosure. I don't want anyone to think I'm a shill or being purchased. But there have been a lot of like Jag stuff, and I think the fact that there was an episode of AEW Dynamite. It was the last one on TNT of the year, and they consider Jacksonville to be their home, like their home base. They have shows in Jacksonville like every two months or something. And like the last show of the year was in Jacksonville, and CM Punk, this famous wrestler, comes out and is like, "It's my first time here," blah blah blah. And he made a couple Jags jokes. And I think that was Tony Khan saying, "Okay, you can go ahead and make fun of this guy because I don't like him." So can confirm, at least from a viewer perspective, Tony Khan's not a big fan of him.
I mean, the big thing is that the Jaguars have so many talent deficiencies at so many levels. So this draft is going to be important. This offseason is going to be important. We could be better next season. It just depends. And it depends on the coach we hire. I would like Jim Caldwell or Doug Peterson or Byron Leftwich or Kellen Moore or like, honestly, any of those sound interesting to me. The reality is it's just going to have to see if Trent Baalke is fired. There's a lot of talk saying he will be. If he is, great. It shows me that they're actually trying to fix this thing the problem that they created. If he's not, well, it's just going to be the same. It's going to be the same next year.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, and then I have one more thing, and then I'll turn the floor to you.
And do your thing, and then I'll ask you.
Well, it's like the one good thing is that the Jaguars ended the season on one of the best notes they possibly could have by absolutely destroying the Colts' playoff chances in Trevor Lawrence's best game of the season.
The Colts haven't beat you guys in Jacksonville since 2014. That's
amazing to me. And
it's an incredible stat.
Yeah, and just absolutely watching Carson Wentz just fumble and intercept his way out of that. And Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown after a bad snap, rolling to his right, found Marvin Jones deep in the end zone for a toe tap touchdown. That's the stuff that he can do that he has oftentimes no help in able to do. And it's like that game. Every professional football team has that one game a season, no matter how bad they are, where they're like, "Oh, this was the game that they almost had it," or that this was their good game, because it's a professional football team. That game coming at the very end of the year does help this offseason feel better.
Okay, that's good.
And it's like, okay, Trevor, there's things the team did get better in that kind of little sense, but it's just another situation of there's a lot of potential for what could happen with the Jags franchise right now. And I'm just sitting here waiting for the tweet to be sent to me from Michael that, oh my God, Trent Baalke got fired. And I don't know if it's ever going to come. I feel like
that would be the cherry on top of a very disappointing ice cream sundae from this season. But like you said, that win can project you into, into a better offseason or hope for the offseason. You know what I mean? It
was great to get that win, feel so good about it, destroy the Colts' playoff chances, and still get the first overall pick.
Yeah. Well, shout out to the Lions for winning that game.
Shout out to the Lions, yeah.
My question to you.
Yes.
If Trent Baalke isn't fired, if he is retained, how close are you to sell the team?
To sell the team? Do you mean like just change ownership or sell it to a different location?
No. Not move, not relocate. No. I know you would never want your beloved Jaguars to leave. Those are your Jags. And listen, for people that don't know, people from actual Jacksonville, like Tyler and friends of the pod, Michael Phillips, and a bunch of our friends, Jacksonville loves its Jags. Okay. Yeah. They love the Jags, whether they suck or not. They are a devoted, a great fan base. No, my question is are you on the all right, Shad Khan, it's time to sell the team?
Yeah, I'm kind of already there. Because I like Tony Khan and I like Shad Khan, in a way, like, but he just keeps making bad decisions with who he hires.
Yeah.
And at some point, and here's the thing. The reality is that like people like to act like there is a book on how to succeed in the NFL at like a coach or GM position or as an owner. There isn't. There's not enough of these things going on, and each situation is totally different. Like these owners are multimillionaires, and they like just because they have that money doesn't mean they know what to do with it in a football context. So, you know. Yes, but like it's not because they're like, oh, here's the 5 steps to being a good owner with a good GM and coach, and he's not doing the 5 steps. And it's just like there's no guaranteed person out there that's gonna be better than him at this. So it's kind of like I'm in a state of helplessness with this, where I'm like, I'd be fine if he sold the team, but who buys it?
Yeah,
because I do think Shad Khan, at least there is something where I'm like, I do think Shad Khan wants the Jaguars to succeed. And wants the city of Jacksonville to become desirable, centered around that.
I agree. I think he has a legitimate interest in it. He's not he's not like a parachute owner that just kind of wants to own a team, which we'll get to in a bit. But I think he actually cares. I do.
It's just, but I don't know if I think he cares a lot, but I also don't know if he cares enough. Like, you know, it's not. Yeah, it's a big investment for him, but it's still not his primary one.
Right.
And I don't know if it should be. You know, as a man, I don't know if I could tell him that he should care more about this team that I like. But I don't know. It's all this big, I don't know, because I'm so used to us being terrible. Like, yeah. And is that going to change anything? Trent Baalke is the one thing where I'm like, that is a legitimate impediment to us being good. That I know will be a roadblock on our way to being better. So remove that. Is selling the team going to make the situation better? Who is to say? Something new is not always better.
True.
But we're not in a great situation.
Maybe the fact that the Khan family is so involved and so emotionally wanting it to do well, a good thing. You know, it just hasn't worked out. You know, you never know. You just may need more time in that sense. So.
I mean, I know Tony Khan cares a lot. So, like, get him more involved is what I would say.
He does. Well, it's hard for him though, because he is the focal point of AEW, and that is just growing and growing and growing. So it's but he does care about the Jags. He'll like reference the Jags in interviews and stuff. Like he very clearly cares. It's just a matter of like there was a pay-per-view at the end of at the end of last year that was like a massive pay-per-view that was going to happen, and he was on the sideline at a Jags game holding like a piece of paper, and it got that picture like went around on Twitter, and like you could see him like creating the card for the pay-per-view on like just him scribbling notes, thinking kind of thing. And it's like, okay, cool. Like he's at a Jags game. Clearly he cares, but he also has this other prod. You know what I mean? It's one of those difficult things with him. But I agree with you. I think that family grass isn't always greener. So let's just hope,
see.
You know,
I mean,
we'll see.
The pool of people who can buy an NFL team is not large, and especially with me, a random person.
And Denver is about to be sold for $4 billion. Like that's what it's estimated to go for. That's the other thing. The Jaguars head coaching position was, I think, in my opinion, pretty desirable early on, in the sense of like, if you fire Trent Baalke, you've got a young quarterback to work with, and not a lot around him, but you can build this team up the way you want. And you're probably going to be, unless you off the field screw it up like Urban Meyer, you're probably going to be given a lot of patience by Shad Khan, unless you absolutely screw it up. But now all of these teams are firing their coaches, and there's way more. Are you creating a segue? Is that what you're doing?
There's way more openings than I thought was even remotely possible. I didn't think Denver was going to come open. I didn't think the Vikings were going to come open, and I certainly didn't think one team down south was going to come open.
It's a bit disturbing when the fan of Jacksonville uses the phrase down south, because there's only two more options. One of them are the defending Super Bowl champions. The other's I don't even want to say beloved. I'm mad right now. No, it's the Dolphins. It's my They are my Dolphins. I love them, obviously, but I don't want to say that right now. They're make me angry. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, for the record. On Monday, Black Monday, as it's known, because a lot of people get fired. It's the day after the end of the regular season. Miami Dolphins fired head coach Brian Flores in the most head-scratching move of my fandom of any team, full stop. There's been a lot of head-scratching moves. This tops it.
I didn't include Brian Flores in the list of coaches that I wanted earlier, just because I didn't want to like spoil this for anyone who didn't know. But 100%, I want Brian Flores as my next coach. Like, and it's very telling. It's very telling that the moment after Brian Flores got fired, a lot of teams were like, "Yo, people should hire this guy."
If the coach you fire is instantly the best coach on the market, you shouldn't have fired him. You shouldn't have fired him. So there's a lot of reports coming out that Flores and general manager Chris Grier weren't getting along, weren't seeing eye to eye. Same thing with Flores and the owner Stephen Ross and stuff. And so basically it was a power struggle, and Ross picked Grier, the general manager. Now, one of these two people, Grier and Flores, has been with the organization for only 3 seasons, turned around a team that was most likely to go 1-15 that season, end up winning 5 games, including, I think, 4 of their last 5 games, has no talent around them, coaches them up really well. And one of those 5 wins was against a New England Patriots team. It was Tom Brady's last regular season game as a New England Patriot, beats them in Foxborough.
Took that away
then
from
the next season goes 10-6 and ends up, missing the playoff by a half a game. And then this season they go 9-8 because there's now the 17th game. But he beats the Patriots twice.
Going down for midway through the season.
Every single game we lost did not include our quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Every single game we lost, Tua did not play in. Let that sink in, okay? Let that sink in. And so then it's a power struggle. So instead of picking the guy that was a turnaround for the past 3 years, he picks the guy that's been in the organization since 2002. And Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong from an outsider's perspective, but the Dolphins haven't been very good in the 21st century, Tyler. So maybe, just maybe, if there's a power struggle between the general manager and the coach, you pick the guy that wasn't in the organization for 20 years, doing all of the things that he shouldn't have been doing for 20 years. I don't understand this logic. It makes 0 sense to me. It makes 0 sense. Flores is one of the best, just pure coaches. The man went 3-1 against the man is 3-1 against Belichick in his past 3 years, in his past 4 games. He swept Belichick this season. There's this thing of
this season.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes. First game of the year, last game of the year. Beat him. Dude, it makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. What? And on top of all of this, it's just frustrating to see the national media attention around this, where it's just everyone saying, honestly, it's everyone saying what we've been saying down here in South Florida. It's, this is a dumb move. What are you doing? This is asinine in what you're thinking. And then on top of that, they're all like, yeah, Flores didn't like Tua and the organization wanted to keep Tua. No, all the players loved Flores, Tua included. That's just it's just so indicative of no one paying attention to Miami. And I don't have to tell you this as a Jags fan, but no one paying attention, and they just have these takes that they've constructed in their head a few years ago and they think they're right. People like to think that, Tua was hurt for the beginning of his career. Yes, he has issues that he needs to work on. Of course he does, but he's not a bad quarterback, and he's been doing well. The man has had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 seasons. There have been 3 different offensive line coaches in 3 seasons. And people are saying that, okay, that's cause for concern with Flores. Absolutely. But Flores is also a first-year head coach. He's also first-time head coach to say. He's also trying to figure stuff out. I have full confidence that Flores is going to go somewhere and will eventually be in either the conference championship or in a Super Bowl and potentially even win one. I really believe it. I really think that he's that good of a coach. He develops talent well. Honestly, he should. He deserves that. I'm not mad at Flores at all. I'm mad at the organization, and I think it begins at the top. Stephen Ross needs to sell this team. I'm done. I'm done with this ownership group. I'm done, because you can renovate the Hard Rock all you want. You can install an F1 track all you want. You can bring all these concerts, all these Super Bowls, college football playoff, national title games, all these events, the Miami Open, all the stuff you want down here. But the man lives in a penthouse in New York City. The man is more concerned with his school of business at University of Michigan than he is with the Dolphins. And the man parachutes down for football games and doesn't even bother to stay around. All this stuff he's doing is not indicative to him. You think he paid for the stadium renovations and all that? No, he strangleholded the city of Miami Gardens and decided, no, I'm going to use taxpayer dollar for all this. He doesn't care about us down here. He does not care about us. He doesn't care about the team. He can say he cares about the team all he wants, but his actions don't do that. He would rather go with the people that are politicking their way to stay into the organization than the better football decisions. And I'm done. F you. I'm done. I'll bleep it out. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Sell my football team. Sell my football team. I do not want you as an owner. Wayne Huizenga sucked, but at least he was down here, and at least he was like someone from down here, and his business grew up down here, and all that stuff. This man is just, because like all those decisions he's made, none of them have worked out. And then the one decision he makes, which is to bring in Brian Flores, it's a very clear step in improvement in what's going on. He just decides to cut the snake off or cut the chicken off, the head off of the chicken, and just let everything go to waste. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
You had Josh Gad, Olaf out here being like, this is the stupidest decision the Dolphins ever made. Which I didn't know that Josh Gad was.
Josh Gad's one of us. Josh Gad's one of us.
I didn't know he's Dolphins fan. That's great. Like,
he's from Broward. He went to Coral Springs High School. He's a big Heat fan. He's Heat season tickets. He's a Dolphin fan. He's a South Florida guy. He's one of us. And he and he pays attention. Like he really watches all this.
That's one of the things I've liked about him is I've seen him. I'm like, oh, he's actually paying attention to stuff. Like,
yeah, he gets it. I
mean, like,
if you look up his Twitter, he talking about like why are people getting mad at Tua? He's not the problem. It's the offense. Like he gets it. He gets it.
Yeah.
So
it's so stupid. It's such a stupid move. Like the Dolphins have not been as good as you've been the last 2 seasons in a long time.
Tyler, we went over 500 back-to-back seasons. That was the first time we finished above 500 in back-to-back seasons since 2002, 2003.
And the truly unfortunate thing is that like so many circumstances happen that you missed the playoffs both years when you could have made it. That were largely
we shouldn't have lost. Listen, no offense, we shouldn't have lost to the Jags. We should have beaten the Raiders in overtime. That's 2 more wins. I think we slipped up in a couple. Like we should have had like 5 losses this season. And if Tua doesn't get hurt, I know people don't want to hear this because everyone thinks that Tua is a Division III quarterback or something. But if Tua doesn't get hurt, we're in a better position in those football games. We do a better job. You know what I mean? We're playing this weekend if Tua doesn't get hurt. You know what I mean? Like I get it. There was a 7-game losing streak, but then there was a 7-game win streak. Like, you know how good of a coach you have to be able to flip that switch and get these guys to buy in? We were in legitimate playoff contention. Like
both years. And it sucks that if 1 or 2 things are different and he makes the playoffs, maybe this decision doesn't get made. But I just don't get it.
Yeah, no, because in the press release, Stephen Ross was saying, like, you know, we expect it to be, this is our expectations or whatever. And I love that. I love having high expectations. That's what we should have. But you got to be a realist, man. You got to read the room and look at the past context. 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We haven't had a legitimate quarterback since Marino retired. The closest thing we had was Ryan Tannehill, and you couldn't get an offensive line to protect him. And look what the Titans did. They got an offensive line to protect him, and he led them to a conference championship last year. He's not an elite quarterback, but he is good enough. I think Tua is better than Tannehill, but isn't at the elite level. Should Herbert have been picked? This might be the first time I've ever admitted it. Yes, Herbert is a better quarterback.
It's hard to, you can't argue with that. It's that I don't think Tua was a bad pick. I think Herbert so far would have been the better one, but it's like Tua's been working.
Tua's not a bust at all is the issue.
Yeah.
Now, and if we're saying anything, it's a miracle that Tua's doing all of this stuff with a bad offensive, with no offensive line, with 3 coordinators in 3 years, with 3 offensive line coaches in 3 years, and all of this hoopla surrounding the Deshaun Watson potential trade, which would, I'm on the record for saying is a horrible idea. And that might be the one thing that might legitimately have me not watch Dolphin games. But like, there's been all of these things and he's performed. I'm not saying that Herbert isn't, how do I put this? If Tua was drafted by the Chargers, I think we would have a different opinion of him because he's in a better situation to succeed right now.
Yeah.
I think Herbert is it's just a better quarterback. And yeah, obviously you should probably take the better quarterback if you have the decision. But I think if Herbert was in Miami,
situation.
That's the thing. If Herbert was in Miami with all of what's going on, we wouldn't think of Herbert the way we think of him now. Not to say he could become that.
Do it on got Keenan Allen.
Or Austin Eckler, or an actual offensive line, or a coach that is an offensive-minded coach that is indicative towards leaning towards him. He has that stability in that department and stuff. Versus Tua has not had any of that. It's a miracle he's been able to do this stuff. So it's just frustrating. I don't understand why you pick Flores over the guy that's been here for 20 years, and clearly it's just a circle of ineptitude. And you know what's crazy? I was texting my cousin Vinny, who's also a Dolphins fan. We were talking on Sunday after the game, after we beat the Patriots. We were talking about the season, and we were like, man, what could have been? And I straight up, I'm pulling it up. I straight up said to him,
he's looking it up.
Let me see. I am.
Want to get the accuracy.
So he gave me the information, blah, blah, blah. And the Niners win cost us like 5 draft spots, which sucked, by the way. And I said, we're always so close, yet so far away from success. We need to get into the playoffs at a minimum next year. And then I said, probably should have done it this year. This probably was the year. And then the next text I said was, I love Flo too. I would hate for him to be the scapegoat. I'm showing Tyler.
Yeah, that's true.
Showing Tyler. And then what is it? 2 texts later, Monday, 10 a.m., Flores fired.
What's
Flores
the
fired. Ross needs to sell the team. That was my text to him on the next day. So yeah, man, I feel like he was scapegoated. It doesn't help that apparently he was beefing with Greer. But
yeah, that's unfortunate.
This is when you I'll end it with this. If you fire your coach and he instantly becomes the best coach available on the market, you shouldn't have fired this coach. I have a bunch of Giants fans in the group, and someone was like, "What? I want Brian Flores," and I just replied, "Hey, the Dolphins should hire that guy. He seems like he's a good coach. Seems like he should." Yeah. So, all right, I needed that therapy, man. I haven't gotten it off my chest in a couple of days.
It's okay. Who do you want as your next coach? Because now you were forced to have.
I haven't even begun to think about that, Tyler.
Dan Quinn.
I haven't even begun. I don't care at this point, man. Like, that hire is going to be so underwhelming. Yeah. Regardless of who it is. It could be, may God rest his soul. It could be Don Shula reincarnated. And I'd be like, eh. Like,
you just don't care anymore. Because even Don Shula reincarnated isn't going to do anything until Stephen Ross tells the team.
Oh my God, I know. That's the thing, man. Like, it's just so. It's exhausting being a Dolphins fan.
Hope you get Eric.
Listen, I know you feel me. Yeah, I know you do, brother. But this was just like, even after like a back half of the season that got me reignited in the Dolphins. Oh my God, we win out, we make the playoffs. Okay, we lose to the Texans. We lose to the Titans. Okay, great. Let's mess with New England. Let's beat New England, and then we do it in the rain at home in front of a damn near packed house. It was pretty full that game, man. Like, and then the next day, it's just like, woof, the air is blown out of the balloon. It's like, oh,
I'm sorry, man.
I know. It's just frustrating, man.
One good thing is that I think Eric Bieniemy is finally going to get a job this offseason. Knock on wood.
I hope, man. I really do hope. And I hope, honestly, you did ask the question, who do you want? I would like to see Jim Caldwell. Like, just gut.
The only thing about Jim Caldwell is that he is old.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got such a great track record that I'm like...
And he knows how to hire around him. He's good at that.
That's the thing. Is like, well, especially for the Jaguars who've been so tumultuous the last couple of seasons. I'm like, I need somebody who knows what they're doing. It's tough. Well, I would love Byron Leftwich for the story. I'd love Eric Bieniemy because he deserves a shot. And the offensive mind with Trevor Lawrence I think would be great. But the thing with Jim Caldwell is just like, we need some freaking stability and an adult in this room, please.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, and I'm honestly saddest for the players in terms of the Dolphins because there were a bunch of interviews and stuff this past couple of days and reports in the Herald and the Sentinel saying like, no, man, like we were playing for him. Like he, it was one of those traditional like, oh no, we love the coach. Like he didn't lose the locker room at all. If anything, he got a better locker. Like he improved morale and all that stuff. Like it was just he fixed all the stuff that Gase left us. Like I don't get it, man. Like I don't understand. Listen, I do want to say Caldwell was on our staff in Flores' first year as like an advisor. So he does have familiarity with the locker room. He has familiarity with that idiot Chris Greer and stuff. So maybe there's a relationship there and maybe he lets him do it. I don't know, man. But Alas, that was our NFL therapy segment, which ran a half an hour. But
I think you needed it.
It is what it is.
You needed it more than me.
I think we both needed it. We both needed it.
Yeah. I think you needed it a little more than me.
So I'm trying to say that so I don't feel so bad about myself.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Oh man, Tyler, I don't know when we'll be back. Probably in a couple weeks or so. We'll work something out in terms of an off-season topic. We will be talking to Raul. We will be talking to Alexa, figuring out when they can have their episode during the off season.
Birth threats. I can't.
I know. Thanks, brother. I love you. Thanks for putting up with me and my stupid ideas. Oh man, Tyler, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Another season of college football come and gone.
Yeah.
This one had a terrible ending, but for me, just for us, Florida fans. But
yes,
but still love college football as a sport, and never lost a season. It's been even tough ones like this one. They still have so many great things in them, and I'm really excited for the future. But that's also because, like, again, all of my teams are hiring new people, so like there's a lot of, at least for me. There's a lot of excitement in the air. Mm-hmm. I love what Billy Napier's doing and is reigniting my excitement. Because, like, that's the tough thing. When you go into college football season expecting it to go one way and then it gets really worse, it's so easy to stop caring. Like,
yeah.
And now I'm reignited back in my interest. And I'm very excited for... There's been a lot of coaching shakeups this offseason with, everything going around. And I'm excited to see the new picture of college football that is getting painted.
Yeah, me too. And listen, with all that's going on with my sports teams, the only happy spots that I have are the Florida Panthers and my man Billy Napier. He is just instilling hope in all of us. He is what he's doing. Let's hope it lives up to it, because I don't know if I can do this again, man.
Even worse.
Let's hope, my man. This has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, but go Gators.
Go Gators.